Okay. Everything seems to be working as it should be. If there's anyone here already, feel free to say hello. We're not going to go live for another 19 minutes yet, but when has that ever stopped me from awkwardly conversing with whoever happens to be there at the time? I have the curious premonition that this is going to be a quiet one. I would like to be wrong, but I really rather do expect it. Indeed you are, you're wrong. Which I suppose means you're right. Well, I suppose if one's name has to mean the opposite of, what they are, that's a good way to go. We will, for the record, be starting with SCP-2647. But I haven't selected one after that, and it probably won't take long to complete. Excuse me, our corp? We're not properly incorporated. It's, quasi-clandestine research concern. It's not quite the same. Arcato Labs. Thank you. Well, yes, there probably is a Lab 69, but that's just only because there was a Lab 70 and a Lab 68. It's a very popular lab, granted, but that's just because of the work being done there, which has absolutely nothing to do with the number, besides the fact that it is in Lab 69. But it's entirely work safe, I think. And I'm simply not going to read that last one. I think it was some time ago that I resolved that. I'm probably not going to say that unless it's commissioned. I mean, if it's commissioned, there's quite a lot I will do. That's established. Greetings, K-Shul. Greetings, K-Shul. And greetings, K-Shul. Why, yes, I have seen the first season of The Fable. It's a good one. I really quite approve of it. I haven't seen anything since the first season, admittedly. But what a charming autistic assassin he is. They did see something in the second season, and that was a new villain set up who was mostly preying on people by encouraging over-safety and cannibalistic helicopter moms, because he knew that they'd be raising some of the most useless, exploitable people ever to draw breath. And that's a hell of a villain. I'm thinking they represent some that existed in reality, and probably still do. For those of you who care, I am pleased to report that I am feeling much better today, and I'm prepared to make that your problem by eschewing the puppets. Or, pass along the good fortune. One of the two. Really depends on exactly how much you approve of or detest me. Although I really don't think I have that many hate watchers. In fact, I'm pretty sure I don't have any hate watchers, because the people who hate me seem to be a lot more afraid of me. As in, they have abandoned entire media platforms just to avoid the possibility they might encounter me in the future. Which is weirdly flattering. Or insulting. One of the two. Nothing I take very seriously in any case. Well, in the remaining 10 minutes before I go live, how are you all doing? I understand you're wrong, that you've been doing some gardening, and greetings TV to me. I don't think we've spoken very often. We have a wrench, so you've clearly been here a number of times by some name or another. I hope you're doing well. Welcome to the stream. We'll be going live in another, again, probably not quite 10 minutes. Greetings, the means of destruction. What's going on? The same thing that goes on every Thursday, Pinky. Reviewing an SCP! Several, probably. This first one looks a bit short, which, by the way, if you would like to choose the next one, you might want to be thinking about what number to go to after it. Also, I'll go and remind everyone that we are raffling off a game, Beneath Oresa. It looks fairly nice. Once again, provided by One Exodus. I think there's only one more game after this, or this could be the last one. I'm not really sure. Either way, I do hope it goes. To a loving home. I can't keep it myself, even if I wanted to. Guilt over the number of games I haven't properly enjoyed in my library has been weighing on me again. Because I haven't really been playing much in them. I'm entirely about Repo right now. And if you haven't played Repo, I have good news. Now is the age of Repo. One of the most perfect games to have thus been released. It has horror, it has comedy, it has vengeance! And as just, I've enjoyed it immensely and it's been a boon to my morale. It's been a while, Memes Instruction. How are you doing? Also, I didn't catch the 108. Oh, you're requesting 108. All right. Thank you. I will keep that in mind. Just, I typically go for the first number suggested after the first one has been read. If I hadn't had one already selected, though, I might have started with that. Unfortunately for you this time, I have, been vaguely competent. Not competent enough, though. I meant to generate a video of me aging before your very eyes to go with the sort of aging theme on this one. The generations were interesting, but not necessarily very useful. I've seen myself turned into a random old man like 8 times now, and while that is fairly hilarious, I grant, it just doesn't feel right. I can't quite bring myself to put that in Air Overload postcards yet. And glad to hear you're existing. I personally maintain it beats not existing. Some people would argue, but those people are miserable people who have no idea what non-existing would be like because they don't not exist, they do exist, and are just being very negative about it. And repetitive game loop, you say. But it's a genius one, because by the time everything goes to hell and the save gets tanked, you're inclined, I personally find, to appreciate going through the levels again. Meanwhile, there are mods for it already via the initial mod manager I've learned. I'm considering exploring it. I do like the one that allows more people to join without having to reload the save. Right, paper 3D glasses, nice. Solid project. AI generation does seem kind of hit or miss at this point, but what I note Beam's discussion is right now the challenge is how to coax what one really wants out of the AI generation. Because on its own, it is an absolute total crapshoot. There's a new skill set being called for. How to describe it? I would call it LLM wrangling. Bot herding. And true, being miserable is an absolute waste of time. Nothing about being miserable will accomplish anything towards not being miserable. Mind you, you might be miserable regardless, and that's of course unfortunate. In many cases, being miserable is not particularly a choice, but it needs to be recognized for what it is. Nothing more than a reminder that one situation could bear some improvement. And when doesn't it? I'm feeling unusually lucid. At the risk of being a terrible influence, I'm actually inclined to credit a small measure of nicotine gum. I remain absolutely amazed and or horrified by how much it seems to straighten out my thinking. I assure you there, I will not be carried away with it. At no point will you see me composed mostly of nicotine patches. I have never in fact actually used nicotine patch. Nor have I ever smoked. And I can guarantee I'm not messing around with smoking. I've lost family members to smoking. In a few ways, actually. Yeah, in the correct application, I really have a hard time accepting the villainization of it as a whole. But too much anything is too much. I'm just, again, horrified about how much of a difference it makes. This probably confirms something I've suspected for a long time, and many people have suggested before. But I'm too stubborn to get it properly diagnosed, so I'm just going to stop talking about it instead. We are 3 minutes from live. Welcome, Bishop. Don't use instruction. At the end of this SCP file, I will actually say people are welcome to request the next. If you repost 106 first, it'll be 106. It hasn't been done before, and it's not insanely long, which probably isn't the case. But you'll have to beat K-Shoal to it. And if it's not very long anyway, then I'd probably go over to K-Shoal just next. My only request for recipe files is that it not be a random number, just to, cater to my request for a request. Kill it was in the habit of doing that. He means well. I appreciate it immensely. Just doesn't feel right to just go with a random number. That's what I do anyway if no one makes any requests. I'll just hit the random selection. Hasn't always gone very well. Oh, we are 9 minutes from live, so I guess I should stop talking and prepare to press the button. I believe I'm being exposed to all relevant chat. At present, if I'm not responding to something you're typing, if you have access to Discord, pester me there instead. I'll check at some point. Greetings, 'tis I, Director of Arc Labs, which is typically the case. I've forgotten one of my belt, but that's alright. You all know that I'm just prone to a baggy lab coat and just haven't gained weight at all. What are you talking about? I've probably slimmed. Look, it's a trick of the light. And as everyone knows, when you're on camera, it adds a few 100 pounds. Look. Greetings! I hope you're all doing well, and welcome to another SCP review. 58 will not be appearing because I couldn't be asked to boot them up. And I didn't feel like an argument on this point anyway. we will soon get into SCP-2647 Omega Life Insurance. This is going to be a quick one. After it's done, you'll be welcome to request a different SCP file, whoever it is, and we'll be raffling off a game beneath Oressa. I'll be playing the trailer for that after the first SCP file, during which, you could be having your numbers ready. Or not, it's no pressure. And as you see, as I am feeling better, I've decided to go ahead and get a bit more comfortable in my own skin, if you will. This is probably a suboptimal solution, but I'm half-assing it still, because I am still recovering. I'm just better. I'm starting to see where I could actually work with this quite well. I like this, actually. I never had a problem with being a floating head. Mind you, only appearing to be a floating head, I'm acutely aware that brain cells are actually distributed more throughout the body than just the brain, which is something that often gets forgotten. You'd be surprised what your stomach and gut might actually be telling you. That said, floating head look, it kind of suits me, I think. May differ. I'm definitely redesigning the set to make that screen a lot larger, and I'm going to use this. Let me tinker with the camera angles a bit. But I can remodel this. Oh, please pardon the clutter. I'm moving around a few things. Not so bad to be sitting there to read, is it? Feedback-wise, welcome. I am, of course, paying close to the chat, and as with all of my live streams pretty much, unless, of course, I'm on someone else's live stream, in which case I don't necessarily interact with the chat quite as much, because I feel it's mostly the host's responsibility, unless I've been directed otherwise by the host, which I never have been. When it's my streams, feel free to ask me anything. I just reserve the right to lie gratuitously for comedic effect or refuse to answer as suits me. Without further ado, let's get into SCP-2647. Omega Life Insurance. Yeah, I can definitely afford to make this much bigger screen with this setup. Is this working for you guys? Do you think this is a bad look for me? Is sitting like this too lazy? Am I not presenting enough of myself? Or are I better off switching to one of the puppets again? Please let me know. I want to hear your thoughts. I do. Unlike most of Twitter's. Vast majority of Twitter's. Anything that has bottled likes in particular. Or comes from a major political party. SCP-2647. Object class, Euclid, pending Keter. Special containment procedures. SCP-2647 is impossible to fully contain, but efforts should particularly focus on blocking online advertisements and encouraging the adoption of digital media over that of newspapers and phone books. All analog instances of SCP-2647A are be reported and forcibly redacted as inconspicuously as possible. All discovered SCP-2647B instances are to be maintained in isolation, now erased. See Addendum 26471, withheld with non-lethal force if necessary, and made to call the provided SCP-2647 number to end their policies. Description: SCP-2647 is a company or entity which publicly goes by the name Omega Life Insurance. Advertisements for the company, designated SCP-2647A, date back to 1957, first appearing in newspapers and phone books, and later online. 800 numbers are given by the advertisements, invariably differ in each instance, and are not traceable to any addresses. Furthermore, the addresses provided by SCP-2647A similarly differ and do not appear to exist in any maps or directories. We do have a quick footnote here to check on. Reasons unknown, SCP-2647A have never been seen on television. Well, perhaps they knew it was a dying medium. Greetings, Paul Farrell. How's this look working for me? I'm doing something new here. New camera angle, leaving more junk within range, and so on. Okay, fine. Don't respond to me. I didn't really want to know what you thought anyway. If any sapient being calls the provided number, an automated voice on the other end will give the options of enacting, changing, or cancelling an insurance policy. Policies range from a price of $1,000 to $3,000 per year, depending on the number of individuals covered, though all include an additional charge simply labeled expenses. To clarify that with a footnote, perhaps, while I can find my mouse, monetary transactions do not reflect this charge. Curious. Once a call has been made or attempted, the advertisement will soon vanish from its location and be replaced with a new non-anomalous advertisement. However, the number can be retained if written down beforehand and will still allow for the user to contact SCP-2647. Should the option of enacting a policy be chosen and purchased, said individuals, and anyone he or she chooses to include, typically the individual's immediate family, will become an instance of SCP-2647-B. SCP-2647-B possesses and exerts the following anomalous attributes: a lack of biological aging beyond 30 years old. Instances above the age of 30 who enact a policy will age in reverse over the course of a specific amount of time between their current age and 30. People who regularly interact with SCP-2647-B will suffer mild to severe premature aging in proportion to the average amount of time spent interacting with 2647-B, making every policyholder basically a time vampire, like the vulture. Immunity to life-threatening diseases, both infectious and non-infectious. Footnote 3. Other effects pertaining to eating, such as obesity or emaciation, will still occur, but death will never result. If an instance has such a disease at the time of the policy is enacted, its symptoms will rapidly vanish within 3 days at most. Otherwise, healthy individuals who regularly interact with SCP-2647-B will occasionally suffer fatal diseases associated with age, genetics, or the health practices of SCP-2647-B. The instance in question, I'm sure. Probability-defying luck in avoiding or surviving potentially fatal events such as vehicular crashes, shootouts, and similar occurrences. Footnote 4. SCP-2647-B are not invulnerable and claim to feel pain as much as when non-anomalous. In all cases, certain people who regularly interact with SCP-2647-B instances will experience fatal accidents at roughly the same time as those avoided or survived by SCP-2647-B, making them once again rather parasitic. Greetings, catatonic schizophrenic. Congratulations on your Chromebook acquisition. Glad that you could attend. I'm not familiar with your name. And that's good news. It means we have a new viewer, I presume. Or you used a different name prior. Either way, welcome. And greetings, Nexus Hunter. Moving on. SCP-2647 will occasionally mail SCP-2647-B false documents such as new social security numbers, birth and marriage certificates, and the like for public use. This occasionally results in SCP-2647-B undergoing name changes. Ending a policy will result in the dramatic and often fatal cancellation of the anomalous effects listed above. As of the time of writing, 143 separate instances of SCP-2647-B have been apprehended by the Foundation. Addendum 2647-1. Attempts at isolating 2647-B instances has resulted in their anomalous properties being affected on any available security personnel in disproportionate levels, regardless of interaction. All instances must be forced to cancel their policies by necessity. Case log SCP-2647 Alpha. Forward. All the following are recent examples of 2647-B who were forced to cancel their policies with retained phone numbers from SCP-2647-A. Compliance was obtained in all cases via shock collar, and all surviving instances were administered amnestics. Date 03/25/2005. Subject Morton Reginald, policyholder since 1972, enacted at age 35. Reginald had since married and divorced twice with 2 children from each marriage. None of his resulting family were covered by SCP 2647. Upon ending the call, Reginald collapsed and went into a 15-minute coma. While unconscious, Reginald's skin became wrinkled and liver spotted, most of his hair fell out, and his heart briefly stopped, requiring the assistance of a defibrillator. Notes afterward, a barmaid that Reginald was known to have recovered from liver cancer, and Reginald's second wife survived a mugging. Wow, this insurance is really for just simply the most selfish of people, prepared to make everyone else pay their prices. At a bargain, really, at just $1 to $3K a year, which is implausibly cheap. Never mind. 05/08/2005, subject Madeleine Webb, policyholder since 1958, enacted at age 62. Webb was unmarried throughout the entirety of her time as an SCP-2647-B instance and living under an assumed name provided by SCP-2647 to hide her age from others. Result? Webb shrieked before dropping the phone and collapsed to the floor instantly. Over the course of the next 2 minutes, Webb convulsed as her teeth fell out, her hair turned from blonde to grey to white, and her skin became increasingly thinner. Eventually, Webb gasped, "Help!" before finally dying. Forensic testing revealed that she had died of a heart attack at the biological age of 87, but had been dead for 22 years. Note, Webb's lawyer, the 5th in her lifetime, missed a flight which later crashed, sparing no survivors. Date 10/15/2005. Subject Dominic and Heather Maxwell, family policyholders since 1976, enacted at the respective ages of 50 and 47. The Maxwells had 2 adolescent children, Robert and Janice, respectively aged 17 and 14 at the time the policy was enacted. Results: Heather Maxwell went comatose and aged by 29 years. Dominic Maxwell underwent a similar process, but then suddenly died midway through when an overhead ventilation shaft inexplicably loaded with concrete crashed through the ceiling on top of him, killing him instantly. Later investigation revealed that Maxwell had been staying in a hotel in 1998, which caught fire, only for Maxwell to avoid death via the discovery of a gas mask and rope ladder underneath the bed of his room. Both of Maxwell's children claimed to feel woozy when the policy was ended, but suffered no ill effects. Note, Heather Maxwell's sister, described by her doctors as hours from death by ovarian cancer, fully recovered after the policy was ended. An elderly friend of Dominic Maxwell later claimed to feel especially rejuvenated and was described by others as looking and acting decades younger. Date 11/06/2005. Subject Robert and Vivian Gomez, policyholders since 1974, enacted at respective ages of 65 and 60. Vincent Gomez, a son, was born in 1990. Results: both Gomez's collapsed in age as in previous cases, but neither survived. Vincent Gomez panicked as he slowly aged in reverse, shrinking first into an infant, then into a fetus, then an embryo, before vanishing away. Note, the next-door neighbors of the Gomezes, a couple who were unable to conceive over the past 7 years of the marriage, had twins 9 months after the policy was ended. You know, this has been a very interesting SCP file, and I'm glad I chose it. I can't pat myself on the back too hard, though, as I was basically just looking for age-related SCPs. It's not like I did some immense research, called up the writer, perhaps did an interview, weighed the merits of covering it. But still, this was a good one, I feel. If you feel differently, feel free to feel differently. I don't care. That said, if this were reflective of the reality we live in, I find it implausible that a wide number of politicians wouldn't be very, very active with these policies in effect, as I don't believe there's any shortage of people who might be willing to be absolute vultures on everyone else around them if it potentially gave them the opportunity to live forever. I'm wondering how many in the O5 Council might just possibly be policy holders. I suppose it depends on which iteration Foundation we're dealing with here. If it's one of the nicer ones, no big. If it's not one of the nicer ones, then probably just about all of them. I would like to believe that the Foundation is actively purging these insurance policies. The company has a seemingly nice idea here. Certainly, they would make a mint if they were allowed to work openly. It is well and good they do not. And at least, we can rest assured they don't exist in our reality. Whatever Foundation we're dealing with is keeping them under wraps or has thoroughly shut down Omega Life Insurance, because we would know by the fact that our politicians weren't aging. They would just stay there precisely 30. Meanwhile, we can rest assured that what presidents and what politicians we do have are clearly well over 30. So, not policyholders. Although they might be kept alive unnaturally by other means. I still think half of them might have died some time ago and are just being expertly puppeted through some manner of necromancy. But what do I know? I would just like them out of office regardless. Greetings, New BSN100. Okay, it is time to run the trailer for the game we're raffling off, after which the first person to post a number for the next SCP will go with that one. So, just keep that in mind, I guess. If anyone new is in chat, please don't be shy about announcing yourself and commenting on the SCP file. I am reading the chat as best I can. This is very interactive. I'm way too inconsequential to have a crowd chat that is going by so fast I can't keep up with it. I'm trying to picture it even. Can't quite. Without further ado, beneath Oresa.
The ashes of the era of the Thousand Kingdoms are long cold. Oresa, the city of the gods, stood for centuries. But now that the divine rulers are gone, people come here to ask for help, offer services, or conclude other nefarious deals. Few are bold enough to descend into the ruins of the city of the gods. But they are all looking for something. Adventure, personal quests, or wealth. Ultimately, we are all drawn here to unravel what lies beneath Oresa.
Featuring a new faction, apparently. But if you haven't played the game before, I suppose. Well, it's all new factions to you if you haven't played it before, I would think. I would say I do like some of these character models. Nexus Hunter is in the raffle. Someday Director this week, I will be playing Catch Up on Side Quest. Well, good news on that, Paul Farrell. This month there hasn't been an episode of Side Quest, so you should have a simple span that you don't need to catch up on. Next Tuesday will be the first and presumably only side quest of this month. Actually, no. Hold on. It's too late in the month for that, which would suggest there has only been one episode of Side Quest this month, and there will not be an episode of Side Quest further this month until next month. Which I'm looking forward to the next Side Quest. I enjoy getting Arcturus killed in terrible ways. Or I would prefer it if other people got him killed, really. That is better for the show in a lot of ways. Yeah, see, exactly. I was not keeping track of the dates remotely appropriately. Paul Farrell. Thank you for your correction. Did anyone have an SCP request? I'm glad to hear it, Snoopy Snoopy. I don't necessarily follow the intended spirit of out of character, but I like to think I'd manage. And, you know, I might not be in character properly, but I do find ways to amuse myself. I hope you were all amused as well. I was hoping so. I know I was amused. I got away with so much. Simultaneously, at the end of this stream, if anyone's expecting me online past that point, what? Position 2. Position 1. I don't know why you did that, 58. But I'm watching you. Don't mess around with the camera, 58. Yes, I know you're mad that you weren't included in this one. Fair enough. We should just move on to the SCP file. Right. I'm glad everyone enjoyed the out-of-character side quest, and I will, whenever there is one, be there shortly. Or someone else who looks very much like me. Or possibly an entire simulation that isn't me at all, but no one will be able to prove it. In many social contexts, I've come to the tragic realization that I am potentially entirely replaceable by a simulation that doesn't say very much and gets ignored when they do. SCP-3108 coming up. Greetings. What noise? Yeah, okay, sure, those eyes are much better. Although I'm not sure what it means between you both posting that. Is it just because most of my face disappears and you're basically confronted with just my eyebrows? Is that it? SCP-3108, Object Class Safe. That is a nice looking gun. I might have to get me one of those. Well, let's see what it does first. I'm probably best if I don't. I would like to note that they correctly identified it as safe, provided it doesn't do anything unless the trigger is pulled, which, by the way, means that every last gun would be classified as safe, and should be, because they are. Unless they're used improperly, then they're not quite so safe. But up until that point, they're inanimate, they're objects, they're paperweights. And this is one more reason why everyone should laugh at anyone who thinks the problem is guns. The problem is never the thing. Almost never the thing. I suppose we're talking about certain drugs. That thing could be the problem, although even then it's the use of the drug, unless of course the drug is being administered by force, mandate, or deception. But I digress. Yeah, hand orange covering eyes does not seem to have gone across. And I thought Hellboy had a bigger, more like hand... Well, SCP-3108, as requested by K. Shaw. Object class safe, special containment procedures. SCP-3108 is to be contained in a standard anomalous object containment vault in Site-64, and is not to be removed except for testing purposes. Proposed tests must be approved in advance by both Dr. Johnson and Dr. Dietz. SCP-31081 is not to be loaded into SCP-3108 except during testing and is to be stored in a separate containment unit. When conducting tests, SCP-3108 is to be handled by Site-64 security staff only. One officer is to hold and fire the object, while a second is to observe the proceedings to minimize risk of accident or foul play. Researchers in D-Class are forbidden from firing the object due to safety and security concerns, respectively. Due to the accuracy of SCP-3108 being in line with similar products, a maximum 1 meter distance is to be maintained between the intended target to prevent accidents. Under no circumstances is SCP-3108 to be used in cross-testing with other SCP objects following Ethics Committee ruling on 0405-2000 redacted. Testing on humanoids has been forbidden. I really have a hard time taking the Foundation Ethics Committee seriously, but some foundations, to be fair, do take their ethics committees seriously, which is a good thing. It's just so hard to believe they take them seriously. And some of them take them too seriously. But I'm probably just being biased. I have my own grudges against Ethics Committee. The Arcalab's Ethics Committee, the Ale Party as I call them, has been a colossal pain in my ass on many occasions in the past. I did create them to pretty much be that, but I should have gotten a pass on Retecra, damn it. I suppose it is for the best, though. It's kind of how I wound up here in the long run. I had to entertain myself in exile somehow. Alright, moving on. Description. SCP-3108 is a heavily modified Nerf brand dart gun which demonstrates anomalous transformative properties when paired with SCP-31081, a foam dart discovered loaded within SCP-3108 at the time of recovery. SCP-3108 does not demonstrate these properties when firing Nerf darts other than SCP-31081, nor does SCP-31081 demonstrate these properties when fired from a different Nerf dart gun. The phrase, OP please Nerf, PLS Nerf, is inscribed on the exterior SCP-3108 in red ink. When SCP-3108 fires SCP-31081 into a target, said target will instantaneously be altered in such a way that the result is perceived as quote-unquote worse, or quote-unquote inferior, by the individual wielding the object. This transformation can range from minor alterations to complete molecular reconstruction. The law of conservation of mass does not affect transformations caused by SCP-3108, and noticeable increases or decreases of mass do not affect transformations caused by SCP-3108. Noticeable increases or decreases in mass have occurred often in testing. There we go. Pardon. The resulting objects or organisms do not show any evidence of anomalous traits. Transformations do not represent any objective value scale, but rather stem solely from the opinions of the current holder. The outer shell of SCP-3108 is composed of steel with bronze inlays used as decoration. That's not a Nerf gun. Well, heavily modified Nerf brand dart gun, I guess. But the outer shell being composed of steel, that's very heavily modified indeed. If you're replacing the entire shell with steel, is it still a Nerf gun even? Being made out of plastic is one of their defining traits. Never mind. While not impervious to physical damage, the assembly of SCP-3108 has proven impossible due to its anomalous nature. All tools attempting to deconstruct the object will be transformed into broken or fake equivalents, precluding examination of the object's interior. An attempt to assemble SCP-3108 using only bare hands resulted in the replacement of Security Officer Silva's hands with a pair of empty rubber gloves. Oof. This seeming behavior of self-preservation is the only time SCP-3108 has altered effects beyond those hit by SCP-31081, and does, if it has self-preservation, raise the question if it might actually qualify as Euclid rather than safe. Still, I suppose it doesn't do anything unless you try to assemble it or pull the trigger. Ergo, not really a problem. SCP-3108's anomalous properties were discovered at a birthday party for a 10-year-old Jacob Pierce in Oxford, Oregon. It is presumed SCP-3108 was fired at a concrete wall, resulting in the concrete being replaced by loosely stacked stones. The wall promptly collapsed, causing minor injuries to 3 civilians. Foundation involvement came after the family sued the contractor of their home for the incident. The anomalous effect that caused the transformation was eventually traced to the gun following examination of the incident's location. During post-incident investigation, Jacob's brother, 19-year-old Nathan Pierce, was identified as a member of the group of interest, Gamers Against Weed. Pierce had previously been known to the Foundation under his online alias, Kectagon, and had been designated POI 6897 due to his creation of SP Redacted and SP Also Redacted. A subsequent attempt to detain the target failed as person of interest 6897 had fled the area 2 days prior to identification as Nathan Pierce. Partial test log. Target: one dartboard made of sisal fibers. Result: dartboard composition was changed to cork. In addition, various small holes and what appears to be a beer stain appeared on the board. Target: an 8x11 sheet of printer paper. Result: paper changed composition to single-ply toilet paper. Target: one spare coffee mug from the Site 19 cafeteria. Result: coffee mug was replaced by a teacup composed of ceramic identical to the mugs. But why, who determined that a teacup was inferior to a coffee mug? I blame the reality-bending asshole from Gamers Against Weed. Moving on. Target: one United States dollar. Result: one United States quarter. Subsequent twists on dollar bills resulted in various outcomes, including dimes, nickels, pennies, foreign currencies, and fake bills from the board game Monopoly. There doesn't seem to be an exact formula for these changes. Signed, Dr. Dietz. I probably should have given that a voice. Oh well. Target: one can of Coca-Cola. Result: one can of Pepsi-Cola. That's again an opinion. Notes: Mike, the security officer observing the test, expressed dismay at seeing this result. We had him fire the dart at the Pepsi can, and it changed right back into Coke. Signed, Dr. Dietz. Target: one standard D-class uniform. Result: composition of uniform was changed entirely cotton, and a tag reading "Made in China" was added to the neck. While that was hilarious... Oh, sorry, this is a different doctor. Well, that was hilarious. I think this text is onto something. Does the gun have a sense of humor? Signed, Dr. Johnson. And greetings, Assassin the Grey. Yeah, that's pretty trivial. What? Sorry, I'm jumping ahead. I'm angry. Target: one VHS tape containing the 1971 film Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory. Result: one DVD of the film's 2005 remake, Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. Okay, that is clearly going out of the way to express an opinion, but I'm going to let it slide easily as I fully concur. Depp being Wonka could have worked. It could have worked if they hadn't chosen Depp pretending to be Michael Jackson, pretending to be Willy Wonka. That did not work. That did not work at all. Target: one male Rattus norvicus specimen. And this is making me a bit angry. Result: one male specimen of Aridomyrmex purpureus. That poor rat. Notes: interesting logic on this one. What is the causal link between rats and ants? Signed, Dr. Dietz. Yeah. Turning Willy Wonka Chocolate Factory into Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. I wouldn't go as far as war crime, but yeah, that was a failure. It had some bright sides to it, but it lost so much of the original's charm, it's hardly worth mentioning. And I'm still creeped out by Depp's Wonka. Oh, we're at 13 likes. Huzzah! It's been a while, everyone. It feels like it anyway. thank you all for making the stream a success at 13 likes. It really does help my overall mood. More is better, of course, but 13 is a goal reached. Indeed! Well, this isn't the experiment, Assassin the Grey. This is the SCP review. Tomorrow is the experiment, and that hasn't been a success yet. But do please tune in for that. You will need to see it live as I destroy all records afterwards, for reasons. Not just because I will probably sing karaoke at my own discretion, and I don't want there to be many public records of it. Especially since no one's paying me. Where were we? Thank you everyone for making this stream a success. Target: 1 female golden retriever. Result: 1 female American shorthair with yellow hair. Specimen was unusually large, at 15.4 kilograms, and continually displayed behavior consistent with a golden retriever rather than a feline. So, it turned a dog into a very large cat. If it behaved like a dog still, a cat that behaves properly like a dog is potentially quite charming. Ostensibly an improvement. Clearly, this gun has no idea what is truly an improvement. Target: D4281, a 28-year-old Caucasian male. Result: D4281 transformed into a living specimen of Homo neanderthalensis. Homo neanderthalensis. So it turned him into a Neanderthal. Okay, that's actually neat. How did they know? I suppose they had to do some genetic testing. And how much DNA did they have of Homo neanderthalensis to compare with? Curious. Maine Coons are marked to have behavior comparable dogs and are huge. Yes, also, I believe savannas are known for similar behavior on this point, and werewolf cats, not that I would know, I've certainly never seen one in person, are supposedly prone to unusually packish behavior for a cat. And cheers, Paul Farrell. The experiment, by the way, starts an hour later than this one, and could last, but is not guaranteed to, up to 2 hours. Or 3 if, the money's flowing, but that rarely happens, so I wouldn't count on it unless you're planning to make it happen yourself. Preface. To test the limits of the danger SCP-3108 could pose to a human being, Security Officer Gardner was instructed to reload and fire the gun repeatedly until ordered to cease. Target: D3578, 24-year-old Hispanic male. Result: initially displaying similar results to D4281, D3578 proceeded to transform into a variety of different species, including what appeared to be an Australopithecus, an unidentified member of the gibbon family, and a specimen of Bribed pygmaeus. Let's see what that is properly. Most commonly known as the pygmy tree sloth. On 9 occasions, the transformation did not result in a change of species, but instead resulted in visible evidence of maiming, disease, or disability. Following 47 successive uses, testing was ceased as D3578 had been reduced to a specimen of Lumbricus terrestris, too small to be accurately hit by SCP-3108, which is kind of a big deal, I would think, as it's damaging and downgrading anything it hits. So every missed shot is probably some considerable damage to the very foundation. Notes. Due to concerns from the Ethics Committee, as well as the possibility of accidental creation of a Homo ignotus specimen, testing of SCP-3108 on humanoids is suspended effective immediately pending a hearing. Signed, Dr. Dietz. Addendum. On 07/19/2021, Foundation personnel apprehended person of interest 6897 at an internet cafe in Los Angeles, California. 6897 was then escorted to Site 64. Interrogation regarding creations. Interrogation regarding SCP-3108 can be found below. Interviewed. Person of interest 6897 Nathan Pierce. Subject displays low level reality-altering capabilities common among artists and Gamers Against Weed members. Interviewer, Dr. Leo Dietz. Begin log. Mr. Pierce, today I'm going to be asking you some questions about another of your creations, specifically the gun. Get fucked. Now, that isn't very helpful. Perhaps I should have Agent Green talk to you again instead. That isn't necessary. I'm sure he's a busy guy. We wouldn't want to bother him. Lol. This is a spoken interview. So he apparently said in the spoken interview, lol. Pierce, did you really just say the letters lol out loud? LOL out loud? Okay, very good. I'm just talking to the internet, sue me. And it's Kectagon to you, so what do you fascist fucks want to know? I am not going to call you by your juvenile screen name. More importantly, why did you create the gun? Oh, the nerfing gun. Classic. Yeah, I thought it would be funny. That's all? Look, what do you want me to say? It's a symbol of guns making the world worse or something? Not everything has some grand purpose, man. It's just something I thought of while smoking. I mean, come on. A Nerf gun that makes things shitty. It's hilarious. I didn't think of the obvious pun until later. Eventually, I got bored of it and gave it to my bro as a birthday gift. I probably should have warned him to be more careful, but live and learn, am I right? You honestly expect me to believe that, despite your group's supposed pacifism, the anomalies that you've produced, it can be legal. This little joke of yours has changed steel into balsa wood and people into invertebrates. I would like to take a moment to pause here that this is incredibly hypocritical of Dr. Dietz to say, because strictly speaking, the Nerf gun in this case didn't turn people into vertebrates. The Foundation did, using the gun. The Nerf gun that nerfs things is pretty funny, I grant. But we're supposed to be blaming Kectagon here for what the Foundation did with the gun. No! Dietz is full of shit on this one. Moving on. Let me start over. You honestly expect me to believe that, despite your group's supposed pacifism and anomalies you've produced, that can be legal. This little joke of yours has targeted changed steel into balsa wood and people into vertebrates. You clearly intended this as a weapon. You used it on people? Our testing history is not relevant to... It was supposed to be a joke. It was funny. I changed Mass Effect 2 into Mass Effect 3, my neighbor's SUV into a smart car. I didn't use it on people. You bastards, why the hell would you do that? I'm not a murderer, damn it. Why would you turn a joke into a torture device? Just get out of my cell. I'm done talking. Okay, shit. Foundation screwed the pooch on this one. Look, I don't necessarily object to them testing the gun out on a D-class, provided this is one of those foundations that uses D-class that, oh, I don't know, mass murders, child rapists, and so on. In that case, you know, using them to test anomalies on is a perfectly valid application, in my opinion. I'm perhaps a bit uncouth on that, provided, of course, those turned to D-class are validly convicted of crimes they actually did on this point. But yeah, Kectagon has a point there. The Foundation's being a dick and projecting their dickishness onto him. Although he is a dangerous, reckless idiot for making something capable of this and then just handing it off to someone without even telling them what it does, thus putting them at risk of winding up in the Foundation's care, for one. A fun SCP file. Thank you for requesting it, K-Show. Let's see, we have about 15 minutes remaining. I could probably fit in another SCP, ideally a short one, but if we go a little over to complete it, that's just fine. So if you have another number, actually, 106, I believe you were wanting as destruction. If you beat K. Shell into retyping it, we'll go there next. Damn the costs. Meanwhile, as I understand it, only Nexus Hunter is registered for the raffle. So perhaps, maybe, someone is in there who doesn't know what raffling off. Look, I'll just ask. Is there anyone who doesn't know that we're raffling off a game who might potentially want to win the game? Anyone? 108 it is then, but no? Okay. I will go through rolling the numbers at the end of the stream to determine that Nexus Hunter has won. Oh, K-Shoal's in. Okay, this is great. Thank you, K-Shoal. I suspect you're doing this just to provide some anti-climaxes. Still, I appreciate it. I hope one of you enjoys the game. I can't scold anyone for getting a game they don't play or enjoy. Again, one of the reasons I so rarely enter these myself is because I'm acutely aware I have a massive backlog of a game that I haven't really enjoyed sufficiently. I'm still working through the Dungeon Now book that Nexus Hunter was so kind as to provide to me after he won it some time ago. I just like the idea of getting these to good homes. As a promotional tool, it hasn't really worked out very well. Yeah. This, of course, is no one's problem. Not even mine, really. Okay, it's time for SCP-108, and after that I'm pretty sure we'll be out of time. Let's take the long way to it. Why not? I feel like a digital stroll. That would be SCP Series 1, 109, and 108. Oh boy. SCP-108, Object Class Safe. SCP-108 is contained entirely by Subject 1081. 1081 should be contained in a standard containment cell measuring 3 meters by 3 meters, furnished with whatever items are requested unless some said items compromise security. Subject 1081 is permitted to leave the room, wander freely, and need to maintain team. Medical examination to be performed on Subject 1081 daily. Filters to be changed as necessary. Description: SCP-108 is accessible through the nostrils of Subject 1081. Subject is an African-American female, 51 years old, seated in 1081, who was previously employed as a cashier at a redacted location in a small-town hardware store in Kentucky. Since a redacted date, SCP-108 has been housed at Site-17. Endoscopic examination of SCP-108 reveals that the area accessible via the subject's nostrils is not the human nasal cavity, but rather a bunker system of a Nazi German construction dedicated to the production and maintenance of World War II-era Messerschmitt Me-262 fighters. Exploration via robotic endoscope reveals that the bunker system has an internal dimension of approximately 2 kilometers by 4 kilometers, with the long axis parallel to the main entrance/exit portal. While the exploration is by no means complete, SCP-108 is believed to contain hundreds of airframes under construction on its assembly line, as well as 3 completed aircraft. There is also a large quantity of human remains in the complex, particularly concentrated around the entry/exit portal, with the corpses of Nazi officials, military personnel, Hitler Youth, and civilians, possibly Ukrainian Slav workers. Oh no, are they daring to observe Ukrainians have a bit of a nose problem? In advanced air decay, evidence of a firefight near the entry-exit portal supports the hypothesis that the German military personnel were swarmed by the civilians and were killed in the ensuing struggle. Some corpses show signs of cannibalism. Robotic endoscopic exploration continues with high-discharge LED lighting, assembled piecemeal using ship in a bottle technique has been deployed. Endoscopic examination of the interior of SCP-108 reveals a large hangar door area with a kind of double airlock with blast doors large enough to admit 2 fully assembled fighters. A production line exists which would allow damaged fighters and deliveries to enter on one side of the hangar door and finished fighters to exit on the other side. Turning the endoscope head 180 degrees reveals the open doorway as an area of total blackness with 2 nostril-shaped penetrations in it. One nostril-shaped penetration is connected to whichever nostril is emitting the endoscope, and the other is connected to the interior of a human nasal cavity. DNA testing reveals the nasal cavity belongs to the subject. The black area is impenetrable and absorbs all wavelengths of light that the endoscope can carry. The black area is elastic and yielding when probed. Apparently, the portal system is a unique 3-way arrangement. If the outside world is designated A, the interior of the ME-262 factory is B, and the subject's nasal cavity is C. Then traffic is as follows. Anything, including gases and light, going from A end up in B. Items going from B end up in C, and items going from C end up in A. Presumably, in 1944, was intended that C and A would be the interior and exterior of a double hangar at Tempelhof based on the architecture of the hangar doors. Addendum 1081. Subject claims that she was training to perform the human blockhead magic trick in preparation for being a clown at a children's birthday party. After hammering a forces appeared along galvanized iron nail into her nasal cavity, she lost her grip on the end and it dropped inside her nose. Immediately, she noticed a god-awful musty stench and experienced nausea and disorientation. Blowing her nose had no discernible effect and left no residue on tissues. She was able to breathe normally through her nose. After about 3 days, the subject got used to the hell's asshole smell and performed at the children's party to the delight of her nephew. Approximately a week later, after ignoring numerous complaints about the smell of her breath, subject was diagnosed with pneumonia and placed on a course of roxithromycin. Pneumonia responded to antibiotics, but recurred a week later. Her general practitioner also noted that nasal examination with an otoscope showed simply blackness rather than the inside of the nose. After admission to a hospital with chronic pneumonia, examination with a 1-meter fiber optic endoscope allowed the endoscope to be threaded in almost a full meter. The attending ENT noted that he appeared to be seeing a Nazi eagle badge through the endoscope. Specialist examination notes were kept in a digital patient management system and intercepted by the Foundation in a routine sweep. The subject was recovered without incident by Task Force Epsilon 9, disguised as a high-risk warrant team officers in a pre-dawn raid in June of 19 redacted. By the end of the cleanup operation, the GP, ENT, 11 of hospital personnel, and 2 civilians were terminated. We are not dealing with a very good iteration of the Foundation here. So they took her alive and have her wander about the facility, not even contained. I'm guessing she really enjoys containment to some degree, not to be a security risk. But they murked 13 people to pick this person up. Endoscope, the Snipian is in 100. As far as I'm aware, there's no such thing as an otoscope. As far as I know. But increasingly suspect if we looked hard enough, we'd probably find there is one. We're not doing that though, because this is a more or less work-safe stream. I've got to work on getting the pre-programmed camera angles adjusted for this. But I have a vision. And that's going to lead places. That's neither here nor there. The subject was examined by Foundation staff and who provided her with a air filtration units, which can be passed through a nostrils piecemeal and assembled like a ship in a bottle. The filtration filling must be removed on a regular basis when it gets expended, roughly once a week, as the subject is essentially inhaling the atmosphere of a formerly sealed Nazi mass war grave. Although initially hostile toward the Foundation, the subject has responded well to enhanced psychological conditioning protocols and now accepts the situation. The plan has been proposed in line with the backing up of all critical Foundation data at Site-62 in SCP-108. Data could be written onto micro SD cards or similar compact non-volatile media and inserted in the subject's nostrils, provided some way to house the subject in a safe location is assured. In the event of an XK-class scenario, research continues to find a way to move the entrance of the dimensional portal from the subject's nostrils to another location, and to discover the physical location of the bunker to determine if alternative access is possible. The original galvanized iron nail has yet to be found. Well, this has been a very interesting SCP file, Means of Destruction. I can only assume we can chalk this up to an evil Nazi asshole wizard did it, and not very well. Or, quite possibly, a not that much of an evil asshole wizard who was compelled by the Nazis to do it, but then got the last laugh by sabotaging the project at the last minute. My chief complaints here have to do with the Foundation's actions. Murking 13 people to capture one person, to hide the fact that they happen to have a magical portal in their nostrils. Bad Foundation. Very bad. This is what amnestics were invented for. Secondly, this is one of the most inane SCPs to be trying to use for Foundation purposes, especially when they don't know what happens when SCP-108-B finally dies. Yet when in doubt, a wizard did it is pretty solid hypothesis for many of these SCP files, Means of Destruction. It's just, there's not much logic behind it, but it requires an awful lot of power, and it can mostly be boiled down to an asshole wizard did it, or, if we're being more accurate in this case, probably just some reality bender. So maybe the Nazis had access to reality bender, who they had do this. The difference isn't terribly clear to me personally. Okay, it's time to raffle off the game, the contenders for the game. This game right here, which I'll play the trailer for one more time, by the which everyone who has a chance will have been considered registered.
The ashes of the era of the Thousand Kingdoms are long cold. Oresa, the city of the gods, stood for centuries. But now that the divine rulers are gone, people come here to ask for help, offer services, or conclude other nefarious deals. Few are bold enough to descend into the ruins of the city of the gods. But they are all looking for something. Adventure, personal quests, or wealth. Ultimately, we are all drawn here to unravel what lies beneath Oresa.
Okay. No one else signed up for the game, so we're going to assume that's all we've got. First number for Nexus Hunter, as follows. Nexus has rolled a very auspicious 87. Next up at number 4, Keishol, who's rolled 63. Nexus Hunter has won beneath Oresa. Thanks again to Exodus, who provided the key to me, which I will soon promptly provide to Nexus Hunter. Much appreciated. I believe there's one key remaining. And with that, we're done. As for why Merc means that, I suppose it could be that mercenaries might have developed a reputation for not caring about collateral damage so much, in which case that could lead to Merc meaning forcible termination of life functions, particularly casually. But I don't know. I'm a bit mercenary, but not a mercenary. By which, as you know, I can be bribed to do a whole lot of really silly things. Killing people isn't one of them, though. If I kill someone, it's going to be because I wanted to, and solely because I wanted to. But I typically don't. I mean, there's no one I personally know who I would want to kill. There are a few people who I don't personally know who I kind of do. Fortunately for me, I'm in no position to actually do so, thus saving me a lot of stress. What? 58? No. 58. 58, position 1. 58. Position 1. Thank you. This unprecedented fickleness. I'm looking at this. And so I will. Congratulations again, Nexus Hunter. If you didn't know, tomorrow is the experiment, for which I think I might make some changes to the set further. We'll see. Depends on how productive I am or how busy I will be otherwise. I will probably be quite busy. Maybe I should wait on that. And, you know, I do kind of like using the puppets. Well, never mind. So long as progress continues, success is inevitable, ostensibly. Thank you all for watching. Thank you for making this a successful 13, possibly plus, like stream. And if anyone was chatting on the other platform that I didn't see, I should probably check that real quick, just so they don't feel left out. Nope. No, I think we're just about accounted for. Yes, we're thoroughly accounted for. If AI-15 was given a biosynthetic gynoid body, it would have more tactile control over the camera controls. Yes, you're quite right, Assassin the Grey. But considering what 58 is doing with the controls they have access to already, why would I want to do that? And I don't want to get blinded with science by a biosynthetic gynoid body wandering around if it's all the same to you, so I'm going to stick with a digital interface and maybe holographic projection. I'm still working on a proper avatar for 58 that balances appearances, aesthetics, interactability, and personal safety. Once again, I hope you're all doing well. Can you have a fine week? Hopefully see you tomorrow. If not, oh well, I guess. So long as progress continues, success and blah, 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 bye. Any time now from here. There we go. Fine, next time. We get the voice again. It's so very slow though.